Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Chris Yorgi, and I'm an event planner for Denver Public Library. In the time before, I made events in the RiNo neighborhood in anticipation of a library branch that will be opening there sometime in 2021, I hope. But right now, I'm blessed to be doing virtual programming with a lot of great partners. Tonight, we are working with RiNo Art District, who really is the brainchild for the inventor of RiNo Made Salons. It's their brainchild, and it's a wonderful event. And the library is pleased to be partnering with them. We're also working with CBCA, the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts, and Meredith Badler, and so fun to work with them as well. And you're going to see a wonderful, fun, exciting, interesting, and very educational event tonight. But before we do that, I'm going to throw to my partner, Allie Sharp, and let her introduce RiNo Art District.
Good evening. I am Allie Sharp with the RiNo Art District, and Chris is all too humble because he is at least, if not more, equal parts brainchild on this operation. So we are incredibly lucky to have the Denver Public Library as a partner on these RiNo Made Salons, as well as many other initiatives. And we are very excited to have them coming to RiNo in 2021. And I know a lot of things are on hold or uncertain right now, but we feel very good about this happening on time. And we are very, 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 very lucky also to partner with CBCA. And, you know, they're doing so many amazing things, creating and pooling resources for artists and creatives in the community right now. So thank you to both of those. And thank you also, I want to say, we typically host these at Converge. And we're looking forward to going back there when the time is right. But we're also lucky to have this option to be able to bring these to you virtually during this time. And I am very, very excited. Again, we have Erika back this month. So I will turn it over to Meredith to introduce her and tonight's topic.
Thanks, Chris and Allie. This is definitely a love fest. We have lots of organizations that think very highly of each other and the work we collaboratively do to support the creative industries here in Colorado. So I will also say thank you to our friends at the Denver Public Library and the RiNo Arts District for inviting CBCA to be a part of these RiNo Made Salons. I've lost track of how many of them we've partnered on, but they've each been fun and unique. So I'm Meredith Badler. I'm the program director for the CBCA. We do a number of things at the CBCA to connect arts and business across Colorado. Two of our programs that are relevant to today's workshop are Colorado Attorneys for the Arts, which is a legal referral service. We connect artists with legal education and legal assistance related to their creative practice. And then a program called Advancing Creatives, which is all other professional development and business skills for artists and creatives. All of our other workshops and trainings like that fall under that program. And actually tonight's webinar is getting recorded. And a recording of this webinar will be posted on our Advancing Creatives webpage. So if you want to go back and rewatch certain segments, if you want to share this great presentation with friends and colleagues, it'll get posted there in the next few days. You can also see some of our past webinars. We've been, just in the past few months, shifting all of our programming virtually. We've done webinars on copyrights and cash flow, and Erika did a great presentation last month on Instagram. So please peruse that library. More and more things are showing up there all the time. So a couple other housekeeping items. As I mentioned, this webinar is getting recorded. It is done through the Zoom webinar function. So all of you watching live, you are muted. You will stay that way. But there's still lots of ways to engage, and we want to hear your questions and your thoughts throughout tonight's presentation. So you can feel free to use the Q&A function that is specifically designed for asking questions. You can also send questions or comments through the chat feature. So either of those options are open to you. Myself and my colleagues here will be keeping an eye on those. And if there's something that Erika mentions in her presentation that needs sort of real-time clarification, send it through the Q&A or the chat, and we'll interrupt and make sure we get that answered right away. We'll also maybe reserve some of those questions to the end if they require deeper conversation. So please know we are keeping a close eye on that. We want to hear your voice. We really want to make sure that this presentation is as helpful to you as possible. So let us know as we go. So that's enough from us. You all tuned in to learn about maximizing your online presence. In this era of virtual work and e-commerce, your website and your online presence has never been more important. I think we had actually decided on this topic months ago, and we're excited that we could continue to offer it. So our presenter is Erika Holley. She works for a company called Vivial and is truly an expert in, I will say, in social media, digital marketing, SEO, and this is her area of expertise as a consultant through Vivial. So we're excited to work with her and share this content. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We'll switch over to Erika's presentation, and she will guide us through tonight's content.
Perfect. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today. And this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, so I'm excited to share it with everybody. But first, I want to say thank you so much to the Denver Public Library, to the CBCA, and to RiNo Arts District, because they've really brought me in as a resource, and I can see that they are working very, very hard to continue to provide excellent resources for you as well. So thank you, guys. Today is going to be very much focused on a business that is trying to get online. Whether you're a creative or a regular business, there's a lot of different areas of focus for you. So my name is Erika Holley, and I have been doing marketing for as long as I can remember. I think I started when I was selling Girl Scout cookies in primary school. And since then, I have done a variety of different things, including graduating from the Art Institute of Colorado with a degree in graphic design, web design. I've run a commercial print shop before, helping them with their digital sales and marketing, as well as a professional photography studio. And from there, I have just found my passion and my place, which is helping creatives and helping businesses understand how to navigate the online world right now. The company that I work for is called Vivial, and it's been around for over 110 years, started out as one of the original phone book companies in the Midwest. And since then, we've acquired tons of digital technologies, and we are a full-service digital marketing agency that spans the entire United States with offices in over 20 different cities. We have strategic partnerships with Google, Facebook, Yahoo, Instagram, and Bing, among others. So that makes us very well equipped to help out businesses of all size, whether it's small, medium, large, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, creatives like yourselves. We're here to be a great resource for you when it comes to digital marketing technologies. For today, I want to make sure that you understand what a really well-rounded online presence looks like, including websites, SEO, which is search engine optimization, making sure you can be found by keywords, social media, and then we'll dive into Q&A. If you haven't participated in any of my seminars before, thank you for being here so much. I do like to kind of get through this stuff really quickly, make sure that we're getting through the meat of things, and then really open it up for Q&A, because people will have a very interesting perspective, and we can answer all of those questions at that time. So just jumping right in, an online presence is something that requires a lot of different areas of attention for your creative business. So today we're going to talk about website basics, how to create your own website, what it means to host it. We're going to talk about Google My Business, making sure that you are well established through their platform. We'll discuss local online directories and the benefits that they have for making sure you have great visibility. We'll talk about SEO, again, search engine optimization, which is being found by keywords. And then we'll touch on some of the top social media platforms that are available to you to use. And the reason that this is so important, especially in today's day and age, is people are using the internet all day, every day. They're doing it on their devices at home, they're doing it on their devices on the go, and you need to be out there and you need to be able to be found with your creative business. So I was able to kind of go through and find some of the people who were registered for today's event. And I really, really like this website. So I wanted to use it as an example for website best practices. I think that they have done a really great job of making sure that information is very, very readily available. When you have a website, people are traditionally used to navigating in certain ways. So it makes sense, even for those of you who are very creative, to have very simple, basic contact information. Make sure your information is easy to navigate. So when it comes to your website, I recommend having your name, your physical address. If you don't have one, that's okay, you can leave it off. Your phone number, hours of operation, social media icons. And I like that they've taken the extra step here to also include email, because you never know how people are going to want to engage with you. Some people might want to walk in your front doors if you have a brick and mortar. Some people might be more interested in picking up the phone and having a conversation. Some people might be more interested in going out to your social platforms and engaging with you there. You want to make sure that all of that is very, very readily available for users as they're trying to navigate your website. And another more important thing is you want to have a great call to action, which they have here is that donate now. Again, a user can come to this website and really quickly and easily find the information that they need to be able to engage with them in a great way. Another important factor for websites is making sure it's mobile friendly. If you want to make sure your website is mobile friendly, you can compare it side by side and just make sure that as it goes into the mobile format, everything is stacked and visible and it doesn't get too small and shrunken up. If you wanted to test this on your website, you could go into the inspect tool. This is something that I use to just make sure that everything looks good among multiple different browsers or devices. And you can look and see. The Denver Film has done a great job of making sure that their website, as it appears on my basic browser, is stackable and very, very friendly to the mobile user so people can navigate that just as easily. Now, when it comes to building your website, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And as creatives, as solopreneurs, or as small businesses, a lot of us like to do that ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's some really great platforms available for you to use. If you're a beginner and want to DIY your own website, I actually recommend Wix or Squarespace. They offer a lot of flexibility, a lot of functionality, and they have customer service options that can help make you a website for you in a pretty short time. They also have e-commerce available, so if you're looking to sell your products online, they can help make that easy for you. If you are a little bit more advanced and want to have a little bit more control, if you're looking for a little bit more functionality, if you want to do some more creative things, I think that the WordPress platform is fantastic for individuals or businesses for a couple of reasons. It was established initially as a blog website, so it's really great for adding fresh content every single day if you want to. It's great for adding e-commerce. There's a lot of plugins available for it. It's a very, very well-known, widely used frameworks that you can leverage. And the great thing about it is that there are a lot of Google videos out there. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube. There's a lot of forums. There's so many people that are able to use this. You can find information if you're looking for it just by doing a quick Google search. And the other option for a website is to have something that is advanced and fully custom, which normally would require hiring a professional for that. There's a lot of places that do full custom websites. I can help with that, answer questions, and point you in the right direction if you're looking for that. But again, I definitely think that between the Wix, Squarespace, and WordPress, there are a lot of really great DIY options out there for you. The other part of having a website, once it's built, is making sure that you have hosting. And hosting is essentially just the platform or tool in which you can get your website online to be visible. You can buy a domain name, and there's a lot of different ways to do that, but I recommend some of the very easy beginner DIY options like GoDaddy, HostGator, Bluehost. Of course, there's a ton more out there, but these are the ones that have great customer service and can make it easy for a beginner or a starter to kind of DIY something on their own. If you are looking for something where you have help with maintenance, then you would look to hire a pro for something that's advanced and fully custom. And the other part that's really important for your website is an SSL, which is a security certificate, and your page speed. Those are two very different things, but your security certificate is important because Google will help your website be more visible if you have that SSL on there. If you are doing any type of e-commerce, if you're collecting any type of information from customers, it's a good idea to have it. But if you want to be very visible, you really need to, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's about $150 to $190 for a couple of years to put on your website. And there's a lot of people that can help you do that. Based on where your platform is built, whether it's Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, page speed can be an issue, and it's something that you want to monitor, especially via mobile. People have a short attention span, so it's going to be really helpful to monitor your page speed. And there's a lot of ways to do that with your hosting provider. Again, this is something that if you have questions, it's really important to talk to a professional so that you're not wasting your time and so that you're not having to deal with these very difficult or complicated scenarios on your own. There's a lot of people out there willing to help and be a great resource for you. On your website, in addition to all of the content and everything that you're sharing and creating, you want to make sure that you're adding additional layers of insights to your website, like Google Analytics. Google Analytics is completely free. You can create it with a Gmail account, probably the same one that you'll use for your Google My Business, which we'll get to shortly. But Google Analytics is a tool that allows you to see so many different elements of great insights and data that will help you navigate creating new pages for your website or doing special promotions. For example, it'll tell you where your traffic is coming from. If you see a lot of traffic that's coming specifically from organic search, then you're probably doing really well with your SEO, search engine optimization. If you see more traffic coming from social, then you're doing a really great job of pointing people to your website from your Facebook, your Instagram, or other social platforms. However, if you see areas of opportunity, this is a great place to identify where you should be focusing some of your digital marketing efforts. It's a great tool for saving time, and again, data is going to help you in the long run. When it comes to Google Analytics and making basic updates on your website, this is something that is pretty simple to do in any of those platforms we discussed. But again, if you need somebody to help you, please reach out to a professional. There are a lot of people that are more than happy to take care of this for you very quickly. I'm a great resource for that. I can point you in the right direction if you have questions about any of these pieces. The next step, once you have your website, to make sure that people can find you, especially in searches by name and then by keyword, is your Google My Business profile. Like I mentioned before, your Google is completely free. You can create a Gmail account, set up your business in a Google My Business profile. And if you have a physical location, you can include your physical address. If you don't have a brick and mortar and you're just in e-commerce or you're just online, then you can actually set it to a specific radius and service area if you choose. This is very, very important because the more information that you give to Google, the more Google knows about your business and can steer consumers in the right direction towards you. This is a great place to list any of your updates, any of your events, your special offers, and especially your artwork and your creations. When I Googled the accessible art gallery, what appears over here on the right-hand side is the Google card. This is your Google My Business profile. Again, it contains all of the information about your business, including physical address, name, website, phone number. If you scroll down on the page, you can even actually see that it includes other social platforms. And then there's your reviews. All of these elements are very, very important to Google, and the more complete your profile is, the more they're going to be able to share information with users who are searching for you or for your products or for your style of art. So Google My Business becomes very important in just establishing a good online presence. Once you've gotten your website completed and your Google My Business profile, the next thing to get your business online and to grow your visibility a little bit more quickly is to claim and optimize your local online directories. Now, there are hundreds of local online directories, especially here in the Denver metro area. I think there's over 170 that are regularly utilized. And these directories include Google, Yahoo, Bing, Facebook, Foursquare, Yelp, MapQuest, and really hundreds more that we probably don't know the names of. But they're important because these are essentially your virtual phone books. And if your business information is listed accurately among all of your local online directories, Google can give you a little bit of a vote of confidence because it validates all of your information amongst these different aggregators of data and really helps make sure that you can be seen in rankings. If you have a physical location, this is even more helpful because it establishes your name, address, and phone number across all of these directories with a keyword-rich business description of your products or services, your hours of operation, even images, and all of this will help with your organic search engine optimization. The more information you have about your business that's accurately listed across the internet, the more Google will reward you with rankings, which means basically as people are searching for you, your content and your website and all of these different details and information bits will be able to appear in that organic area. Now, the organic area is one of the most important parts of your online presence, and it is one of the most long-term strategies that you could possibly apply. And here's what it basically means. The more keywords that you have relevant to your website, your content, the more people will be able to find you. And these are essentially all of the different areas in the Google search engine results page. So if somebody were to type in art gallery near me, this is how it would lay out. It would start with any paid advertisements at the very top. Then it would have the maps and the directory information and details. And then below are the organic results. These results are based on a lot of different factors, including how long your domain has been available or how long it's been claimed and utilized, so how long your website's been active, how often you update your website, all of the information and all of the keywords and content on your website. The more accurate and the more consistent that is, the more likely you are to appear in those organic searches. And the reality is that more often than not, 93% of people aren't going to go past the first page on Google. They're not going to go to page 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So being in that organic area in the top 10 to 15 on the search engine results page becomes very, very important. You definitely have to fight for that in certain cases, depending on how popular your keywords are. So when this strategy is being applied, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can definitely start out optimizing your website on your own by making sure that you have plenty of content on your website, by making sure that any titles or descriptions or meta tags that are associated with any images on your website are included, as well as site maps, and then any additional just basic copy. The more keyword copy that you have on your website that is specific and relevant to what you do, the more pages of information you have, and basically the more Google can create those backlinks and help you raise in those rankings so that you can have a lot more visibility. When it comes to SEO, this is definitely one of the more complicated strategies out there. It definitely takes much longer than many of the other digital marketing strategies, but this is one of the most reputable. It's one of the best ways to make sure that you can be found. A lot of this is based on just making sure that you have the right information plugged into the right spots, and then sharing your information across the internet as much as possible. So there's on-site and off-site strategies that you can leverage. And while this definitely can be very, very complicated, there's a lot that you can do on your own. However, I absolutely recommend having somebody, a professional, basically do an audit for you to help you see where your potential gaps are and steer you in the right direction, maybe saving you a little bit of time. It is a really good idea to work with a professional on your search engine optimization, because when you have bigger companies or agencies, they have tools that can make this easier for you and can decrease the time it takes to get you to the front page. So definitely know that you should be asking questions about it, and there's a lot of different ways to apply your search engine optimization. Now, this is after you've gotten your website built, your Google My Business, started your search engine optimization, so applying keywords and content strategies to your website. The next really, really important thing, and a really, really important feature of making sure that you can connect with the right people, the right audience, are social media platforms. Now, there are a lot of social media platforms out there, but the top and the most engaged with include Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, with Facebook being currently the most popular and still growing. Meanwhile, YouTube and Instagram are definitely growing very, very quickly. So I do want to jump into each of these very, very briefly and just show some basic details and insights, and then we can get into a little bit more of the Q&A on each of these. So the most popular platform out there currently is Facebook. And as a creative, you can have both a personal Facebook page and a business or a creative Facebook page for yourself. And it is recommended that you keep them separate, because you'll be able to have different functionality, and there's a lot of different insights that you can get from having a business page. So it's important to make sure, again, that you're creating your social platforms with the most relevant information and accurate information, and making sure that it's the same across all of your platforms. This does a lot for you, including helps with your organic SEO and helps you be found in some of those searches on the Google search engine results page. Now, when you think about your social media, you can think about it as a great tool for brand awareness, especially Facebook. On Facebook, you have the opportunity to share and post content, videos, stories. You can create groups, start discussions. There's a lot of ways to engage. But one of the most important and relevant features to this is that you can very specifically pay to target an audience by interest, location, or behaviors, among tons of other demographic options. So if you know who your target audience is, you can very easily and very affordably use Facebook for as little as $1 a day to go in and target an audience that you want to share your content with. Whether you're looking for donors, whether you're looking for people to buy your art, you're going to understand that there are a lot of different demographics that have overlaying similarities in your audience. For example, you might be looking for a higher income type of audience that is often enjoying the social scene downtown. They're people who shop online. They have either a college degree or beyond. And you can specifically target these people and try and sell your art to them in creative ways. The paid advertising offers a ton of options and flexibility for you. And if you need any help creating that target audience, there's also tools that help you with that on Facebook and other platforms. The next social platform, and one that is very near and dear to my heart, especially for creatives, is Instagram. Instagram is your visual, highly aesthetic platform that allows you to share content and leverage hashtags or topics or conversations to engage people. It allows you to be very hyper-local, meaning you can target very specific areas, whether it's a neighborhood or a city or an entire state. But there's a lot of different ways to make sure that people are engaging with you, and that is specifically hashtags. So when it comes to hashtags, you can leverage a variety of different hashtags, including location, industry, maybe the type of art that you create, and anything that is relevant to the post itself is something that is great to leverage as a hashtag. On Instagram, you can have up to 30 hashtags, but it's important to make sure that you're keeping it as relevant as possible. And make sure that the main focus of your Instagram platform is going to be the aesthetics and the visuals. People are there to look at pretty things. They're there to see your art and share your art and engage with it in a lot of different ways. This is definitely a potential, a slightly younger audience than Facebook, but it is growing with the older demographics. So again, the more you know about your audience, the more that you're able in addressing them and engaging with them specifically through these different platforms. The next platform that is very beneficial to you as a business and as a creative is Twitter. This allows you to share any special headlines, any press releases about you, news, events, information. It's also a great place for customer service where people can engage with you and talk to you about your business. Twitter offers a lot of insights that really help you target very hyper-local as well. So it can be great to help you monitor trends and competitors. One of the other things that Twitter can really benefit you with is your SEO, your search engine optimization, because the more that you're posting out there with relevant keywords and terms, the more your Twitter posts can actually appear in some of those Google searches, which helps again with those organic rankings in that SEO. Another, again, great platform for social content is YouTube. And currently, one of the most engaged with types of mediums or media is video. So if you have the ability, if you have as much as an iPhone, you can create a great video and post it on YouTube and then share that to your social platforms. The benefit of doing this is that people are actually out there engaging and watching YouTube. And there's also great advertising options on there as well. But this is one of the most highly engaged with types of media, one of the most high volume. And again, this is another platform that does a really great job of helping with your organic SEO. So if you're creating a video about you creating your art and the process that you go through or the inspiration behind it, you can include keywords, you can include hashtags in that, and actually make sure that people can find you across your other social platforms and direct them to your YouTube so that they can watch your videos, or you can share them on Facebook. There's just a lot of great ways to leverage video. And if you have this available tool, and again, this is completely free, Leverage it as much as possible because it's going to help increase your visibility. And the next social platform is LinkedIn, which is traditionally business to business, but I do think that there is still a great place for creatives out there. This is a great place for you to share information, to research people, to research companies, connect with other professionals in your industry. If you're into teaching or if you have any seminars or engagements or events, LinkedIn can be a great place for you to also connect with people that have very common interests, especially similar businesses to yours. This is another great way to also improve your SEO. And I know that it sounds like there's a lot of different platforms out there. This one would likely be the least to produce a ton of leads and results for creatives. But again, it can be really important to reach some of those certain audiences that you're trying to connect with. If you're in the performing arts, this actually could be a great place to find jobs. This could be a great place to connect with recruiters. So I would absolutely recommend leveraging LinkedIn as one of the last platforms. So again, just touching on some of the high-level social media trends that we've been seeing. And this is definitely changing thanks to the stay at home, the safer at home, as people are using social media. I mean, as much as 50% more is what I've seen in the trends. We are still going to continue to see a lot more of the virtual storefronts. And that means that means getting your art online. That means making sure that you have an e-commerce so that if people want to buy something or commission something from you, that's available out there. You'll be able to leverage those websites, platforms, whether it's DIY or custom, and you'll be able to use your social media to help make sure that you're connecting those virtual storefronts, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or your own website. They all have tools that make selling very, very easy for your business. Another raising trend is the voice search, talking to your Siri or your Google devices or your Alexas. The more information that you have plugged into your Google My Business and your local online directories, the more likely you are to appear in those voice searches as well. So that's going to be a continuing trend for 2020 as, again, people are staying at home and leveraging their social platforms much more. Again, along the lines with the virtual storefronts, Facebook Pay makes it really easy to shop. I don't know about you, but I buy a lot of things on Instagram because they make it very, very easy. You're not even leaving the platform whenever you're shopping. So that can be something that you can look into for your business. Groups are also going to be a great way that you can share a lot about what you do with others who are already engaged in similar interests. As a business page or as a creator, you can actually own and moderate a group, which can be great for getting people together for events. Video content will continue to be something that's very important. Again, it's one of the most engaged with types of media. So the more that you can leverage video content over the long term, the better. And last, I think that the ephemeral content or the content that is the Instagram lives or the Facebook lives, those videos that don't last forever, that's going to continue to be really important for you because people really like to see a little bit of the behind the scenes. They like to see what's happening now and make sure that it's not as staged. It definitely appears to be more social when you have some of those ephemeral content pieces that are able to live for just a short time frame while you also continue to create that great content that lives in your feed and your grid forever. And I have seen a lot of questions coming through the Q&A, so I would love to start addressing those and digging into some of the areas where you guys really have questions about this.
Hey, Erika, this is Meredith. I'm happy to moderate this if that would be.
Right. Yeah, thank you.
We have a few questions that have already come through the chat and Q&A. So as we're answering those, if you have other questions, please feel free to send them as well through, again, the chat or the Q&A function. The first one, this might just be a quick one from Lindsay, wants to know about Shopify, if that is a website platform or something you'd recommend.
It is a website platform. It is DIY. I know a lot of people that use it. The reason that I made the recommendations that I did was based on customer service and just the simplicity of the DIY. For those who want to get a little bit more of the functionality, Shopify can be great. There are fees associated, but it is absolutely a website platform that you can plug your e-commerce into.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a few questions here related to Instagram stories, and let's see how to approach these first. Someone, it looks like Janice asked, do Instagram stories or ephemeral content, does that help with SEO?
Nope, not necessarily. It would need to be something that lives and lasts permanently forever. So when you're posting something on Facebook, people can go back several years and looking at that. If it's something that is short-lived or the stories, that's not necessarily going to contribute to your overall organic SEO, your search engine optimization, that long-term strategy, but it is going to help with that engagement. And it is definitely going to be something social that you will want to continue to use.
That's a great answer, and that actually leads to a question we received earlier from Diana about she had sort of two questions. One was the difference between posts and stories, pros and cons of those, as well as pros and cons between Instagram TV and Facebook Live. So if you can do some sort of compare, that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, I would love to. Again, Instagram is one of my favorite platforms, and I think that it offers a lot of flexibility, but you have to remember that people are really out there looking for the aesthetics and the beauty. So when you are creating your feed or your grid, the stuff that's going to live out there, do it very, very carefully. Make sure that the images are carefully selected, that you're not using blurry images, that they are relevant to what you do especially, and make sure that they kind of work in a flow and a theme and a color and a style that is your brand, because people will scroll through and see that. The point of the stories and the live is that immediate engagement. One of the things that I love about Instagram Live is that it will notify any of your users who are currently online or using the platform that you are going live. So you'll have some immediate engagement. People can comment and share, and you can answer questions through that platform really quickly and easily. But that's not something that necessarily lives forever. Now, the stories, instead of an Instagram Live, are something that can be created in the moment. That's the spontaneous side of things that can be very, very social and helpful. One of the cool things about stories is that you can actually save them into your highlights on Instagram. So I've seen some really, really great examples out there where people are saving into different categories, whether it's their art that they've created or their process, or if it's a photographer who's on location or a different style of art. If you make a story, you can save it to your Instagram highlights, which appear at the top of your profile, making it easy for somebody to go back and view those stories after a long time has passed. And that's only if you select it and save it as a highlight. Otherwise, it does disappear. So there's a couple of different ways to use that. Facebook Live is very, very similar, except it's not necessarily something that you can save down to a highlight feature. And it is something that, again, is not going to live on your page permanently. I hope that's a really, I know that's a complicated answer, but there's a lot of different elements to that for sure.
Definitely. I think that was really helpful. And we have some follow-up questions coming in. Some folks are wondering about the best length for an Instagram Live post, as well as just sort of overall best types of engagement on Instagram.
So Instagram Live can be a very, very broad range of different lengths for sure, depending on what it is you're doing. If you're sitting down to create an event or to talk about something for a longer time, then you can definitely go a little bit longer. For example, I am doing a social media pop-up for a chamber that I'm associated with this Friday, and we'll have an hour of Instagram Live where it'll be something like this. It'll be, an open dialogue where I can answer questions for people. And that can be a great way to use that. But there isn't necessarily a recommended length. Again, for Instagram, it is for the aesthetics, and it is to be social and to make sure that people can connect with you and engage with you. So as long as you have something important and relevant to say, I think that you can take that Instagram Live a little bit longer.
Cool. Any other tips for engagement on Instagram?
Yes, your hashtag strategy is going to be incredibly important to engagement. So not only coming up with a good strategy, but making sure that there's a combination of high density and low density keywords, location-based keywords, and anything relevant to the topic or whatever it is you're creating or discussing. So to kind of sum that down a little bit, you want some hashtags that there's a ton of volume for, and you want some where there's much less volume, where it's a little bit more unique to you. Building that hashtag strategy will make sure that you can get in front of people who already like what it is that you're sharing, and potentially just have a whole new audience discover you. So I would say the most important thing to your Instagram engagement is going to be your hashtag strategy, and then just making sure that it's incredibly relevant, and again, that aesthetic is going to be important for Instagram.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll keep answering the questions about Instagram as they're coming in, but Erika did do a wonderful webinar with us last month exclusively on Instagram, which is recorded and on CBCA's website. So if any questions don't get answered here, and you want to dive even deeper, that is available. We had 2 people send in questions that are very similar about having more than one Facebook or Instagram account. They either had a personal account and then made an additional account for their business.
Yeah.
They do and are trying to figure out, was that a bad decision, or how do I separate or combine them? What are your thoughts on that?
I personally have 3 Instagram accounts and 2 Facebook accounts, but here's why. So I definitely like to keep things very, very personal on my personal account. And then I have business accounts for both of them. And then at one point, I had actually gotten into something that was very, very specific. I started doing keto, and I started taking pictures of keto foods and sharing that. And I thought, my audience or my friends and family that are part of my personal Facebook or my personal Instagram don't necessarily want that. There's a huge audience out there that found that very, very relevant. So I think that there are times where it's absolutely appropriate to have a personal account, a business account, maybe a different type of creative account that's just around your art. There are opportunities for that where it does make sense. And if you have questions and kind of want to brainstorm through that, I'd be more than happy to. The bigger thing that you want to make sure is that if you are trying to operate as a business, you have your profiles set up as individual and business profiles. You are going to want both, and to keep them separate for a lot of reasons. Mainly, the engagement can be very, very different. The functionality on what you can do with a business account versus an individual account on either Facebook or Instagram are very, very different. So I definitely recommend having multiples on some of those platforms when it's necessary.
That's great. And actually, we received earlier sort of the reverse question of, if you had to prioritize just 1 or 2 platforms, what's your advice for making that decision?
My advice would be to really, really identify who your target audience is And then that will determine which of the platforms are going to be most beneficial for you. Again, you know, the difference between Instagram and LinkedIn is very, very broad. Instagram is something where you can have great B2B, but there's a lot of B2C, where LinkedIn is business to business versus business to consumer. LinkedIn is just a very different type of content platform. So again, depending on your audience, what their interests are, what their geographic location is, what it is you're trying to accomplish, it might vary. But I think that the two most popular and most leveraged right now to help with getting in front of people and potentially selling, Facebook and Instagram are, in my opinion. Again, it's going to be industry relevant.
Yeah, and you shared those great sort of demographic stats earlier in your presentation. Again, we'll be sharing this recording
yeah.
in the presentation later, so can't remember now who asked that question, but you can look back at sort of those demographics, and that, as you mentioned, Erika, might help people make a decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had a few questions coming in about hashtags and keywords. I think there might be some confusion on what's the difference or similarities between keywords that need to higher SEO and hashtags on Instagram posts. Can they be the same? Should they be different?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because it can be very, very complicated. So when you think of your website will need SEO, which is search engine optimization, and that's based on keywords. So if you're trying to optimize for a search engine, you're essentially trying to predict how people will type their questions into Google. If it's something that falls under somebody typing it into Google and you wanting to be found, that's a keyword for your SEO, your search engine optimization. Now, some of those will definitely be able to be leveraged as hashtags, but it's not always going to make sense. So your hashtags are going to be more of the shorter topic or conversation-based keywords instead of, you know, longer string keywords or somebody typing in a question to Google. The way that I think of Google is as a search engine, people are going out there to normally ask a question, and quite oftentimes Google is trying to point them in the direction of the most appropriate business. So again, having your Google My Business out there, making sure that all of your website details are plugged in correctly, those types of elements are going to help you be found on Google, while your social media strategies are a little bit different because they're searching in different ways. The ways that people search on Instagram are different than the ways that they search on Google. And there's a ton of that information on how they search specifically and how to optimize your keyword strategy in the Instagram session that we had last month, actually.
Absolutely. A few more questions here on hashtags, getting a little tactical here.
Okay.
Okay. We have someone asked about, can you cut and paste your hashtag list? And does it matter if you put your hashtags in the body of your post or in the first comment?
That's a really good question. And it's kind of two-part. So number one, yes, you can copy paste your hashtags. I do it all the time. I definitely have lists on my phone because it's really important to mix up your hashtags. You don't want the same 10 or 15 or 30 hashtags for every single post that you're doing. You want that variety, number one, to make sure that you're reaching an audience that maybe hasn't seen you before. This is a really big component to your hashtag strategy. But then you want to make sure that with those hashtags, again, you have the ability to target specifically. So you can come up with those different groups to copy and paste them. I use my notes tool. I use email a lot of times. I use some platforms like later.com. There's a ton of researching tools out there where you can type in a hashtag and it'll give you a whole string of different ones that you can copy paste and put into that. The most important thing for your hashtag strategy, though, again, is to make sure that it's relevant to the post, relevant to the pictures within the post, and relevant to you or your profile itself. And then the next part of that, what was the second part of that question?
Oh, about putting your hashtags in
in the comments. I think that is something that is up to opinion. However, I believe that it should be in the actual post itself. Once you get past 10,000 followers, it really doesn't matter, and you can put it in the comments. But the reason that some people do that is for the aesthetics. So instead of putting it into the comments, if you put it into your post, you can ensure that it's going to be found in that algorithm immediately. But you want to make sure that you're splitting it up and breaking it up. So whether you're doing just a couple of sentences or even a whole longer couple of paragraphs, split it up so that visually people can separate the hashtags from the post. You just want to make sure that it looks clean for the most part.
Nice.
I know that's a weird way to answer that, but there really isn't a benefit to doing it either way, basically.
Yeah, well, it's a great question. It's something I know I've noticed.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for the ideal posting frequency on Instagram and Facebook?
It depends on your goals. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And really what you have to work with. Remember, the purpose of being out there is to be social, to be relevant, to give something of value. So when I'm creating for businesses specifically, my systems are always 2 to 3 posts per Facebook per week, 2 to 3 posts for Instagram per week, 4 to 5 for Twitter, 1 for Google My Business, and 1 for LinkedIn. However, that can be very, very different depending on what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. The reason that I recommend it that way is just based on the usage. People are going to use Facebook and Instagram very differently. And obviously people are on social a lot more right now than they ever have been. So being on there once a day could be great, but I don't think that you're required to, or that there's a minimum that would really, really make a huge impact beyond like once or twice a week.
Thank you. I think I have one more question in here about Instagram and Facebook, and then we have some questions about some other platforms. So it looks like someone's wondering, we may have already covered this, but just how to increase your followers on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. My biggest recommendation on both of those is to actually proactively engage. The more that, especially on Instagram, the more that you're going out and following the hashtags that you're trying to represent yourself for, engaging with other users who are following those hashtags, liking the profiles and pictures that are similar to what you do, the more you automatically visibly appear for them that they can follow your profile. And it really is on Instagram, I think, that genuine engagement both ways that can help. And the next piece is definitely that hashtag strategy, making sure that you're doing your research, that you're testing new things, that you're mixing it up, but staying as relevant as possible. When it comes to Facebook, to drive engagement, just try and remember the purpose for being out there is to build relationships online, to demonstrate or showcase what you do, how you do it, why you do it, to be social. The more businessy you are on social platforms, the lower engagement you're likely to have. Just remember, they can be great lead generation tools, but your social media platforms for business are for brand awareness specifically, and making sure that people who are interested in you have the opportunity to see you and build that relationship in some way. Another thing for Facebook engagement that can really, really help is to ask for reviews, ask for recommendations. Do it on Google as well. The more that you have recommendations and reviews, the more visible you are going to be across all of those platforms.
That's a great answer. I think we often forget that you get back what you give, and that these are social platforms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very, very true. I have that conversation a lot. And really, the more that you are proactively engaging with your audience in a way that's meaningful and valuable and genuine and authentic, the more likely they are to reciprocate.
It looks like Sandy had sent a message a while ago through the chat asking, what is your opinion on Weebly as a website platform?
I actually just had somebody that was talking to me about that yesterday. It's a good platform. I mean, again, it's a DIY. It's simple to use, but there are a couple of reasons that I recommend the others. Some of it is based on the long-term functionality and all of the flexibility that they have. WordPress has always been my favorite, and until the foreseeable future, probably going to be my favorite, because it's so easy to use for almost any developer out there. But there's so much data and resources to help the individual, and there's so many pre-created plugins that just make it super easy. I have never had a need to work with Weebly outside of that. Again, there are a lot of platforms out there, and the ones that I selected are certainly not the only ones that are available, but they're just the ones that I'm comfortable using because of customer service, flexibility, and functionality.
Great answer. Another platform, Maddie asked, what do you think about using Etsy?
Yeah, Etsy's great. I think that it can be a lot of work for sure, and you still have to market for it. It doesn't do a whole lot to help you get found as easily as some of the other platforms that are a little bit more organic. But I definitely think that Etsy is a great place for creatives to be because it's an easy platform. I just know that they do, and I don't know what the percentages that they take. So the benefit to doing your selling through your own website or your own social platforms like Facebook or Instagram is that they're not taking a cut off the top of that.
Great. I think this is the last question that I see through either the Q&A or the chat. So if you have anything else you want to ask, now is the time. I actually had a few questions that I wanted to ask too, so maybe I'll answer them again. But it looks like Steve here, and I'm not sure if he means, well, let's see. He says, what is the difference between high density and low density keywords?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very easy to answer that one. High density keywords are those that have a ton of searches. So hashtag Denver SEO, for example. There are millions and millions of searches for that. That's high density. Low density are ones that would have fewer searches or fewer people that are tagging and using that. So it might be something that's much, much more relevant and very specific to you or your style, or a tagline or a phrase or something that's unique to you. Where not 100,000 people maybe or less would use that.
Good answer. Thank you. Catherine had a question about some of that engagement on Instagram. She wants to know, is it seen as an endorsement to follow another solopreneur on Instagram? Is it a best practice to follow other people and businesses back if they follow you?
I think if they're relevant to you, absolutely follow them back. One of the reasons that they do follow you, and I see this a lot, people will follow and unfollow because there's only a certain number that an individual can follow. I think it's 5,000 on Instagram. Once you hit that point, you have to unfollow and start following new ones. But if it's relevant to you, then definitely follow them. It's not something that I think people really go out and look at who you're associated with and who you're following. So it's not going to really have an impact on how they see you or your reputation. It just gives you a chance to see those in your feed, basically.
Cool. That's great. Back to sort of websites, which, back several minutes ago. Do you have any tips for how to improve your page speed? that was something you mentioned as something.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So page speed can be brought on by a variety of different things. The main two are going to be your frameworks, so how it's built, whether it's a Wix website or a WordPress website. How much is happening on the page at any given time can slow that down. But one of the more important things that I think that people kind of get held up on are their graphics and their images. When you are uploading images to your website, there's a couple of things that you should do. Number one, optimize them for web, because you don't need high resolution on websites. Computers, the eye can't see that. High resolution is traditionally for printing. So you can have smaller resolution images that still look great, especially on mobile where most people are leveraging that. And condensing the sizes of the photos themselves is going to help that page speed quite a lot. The other thing will definitely be functionality. Again, that frameworks. Just the way certain websites are built, they have to go out and call for data a lot. So if it is something where you just have a gallery of images and it's loading very slow, it's probably because of image size. If you have something where people are clicking and there's a lot of movement and changes on the page, it's probably the functionality and the code itself. So there's a lot of different ways to look at that, but just really images is one of the bigger issues.
Yeah, that's helpful. Another question here. How frequently should you overhaul or rearrange your website?
Ooh, okay. This one's a little bit tricky for a couple of reasons. You should always be updating your website. Google wants to see your website kind of have a pulse. The more frequently you can add content to it, especially relevant keywords, the better it's going to be for you as a business, for your organic SEO. Now, this is where it gets tricky. If you have your domain, let's just say cbca.org/events, and then you have hundreds of events listed under there that have their own domains, and then suddenly all of those disappear and you're taking stuff off of your website, you can really negatively impact your organic SEO. So there are things that you can do when you're doing major overhauls to your website to make sure that you're not losing SEO. The biggest thing is to make sure that every page that you have on your site has a new spot in the same domain or URL as it did before. I don't know how to simplify that a little bit more, other than if you are doing a full overhaul on your website, anything that did exist out there before should either continue to re-exist on your newly overhauled website or be replaced with a technical way that it redirects so that you're not losing your search engine optimization. Again, SEO is one of the more complicated elements to your online presence. So if you have more in-depth questions, I'd be more than happy to dive into those. It's just a little bit high level at this point.
Yeah, that was a good answer though. That was really helpful. Curious what your opinions are on the effectiveness of paid ads or boosting posts on platforms like Facebook?
Well, so the effectiveness depends on a lot of different things. Number one, your content. Number two, the audience that you're selecting. Number three, what it is you're trying to accomplish with that. If you're going into paid ads knowing that it's for brand awareness, then you'll see that they work very, very well. Paid ads are one of the only ways to specifically get in front of a targeted audience that has maybe never seen your brand or your page before. You can do it, again, by location, by age, by their interests, whether they're luxury, whether they shop online. There's so many behaviors and so much data that Facebook and Instagram own together that paid ads are essential in increasing your brand awareness. But it's based on your content and your expectations as to whether or not they actually are going to perform and do what you want them to. A lot of people try to use Facebook advertisements to promote deals or generate leads. And again, it's not always the best fit for it. You want something that's truly valuable or truly engaging or truly relevant to your target audience, and that will help drive so much more success in those paid ads. Again, this is something that can be complicated. If you want to kind of talk about what a paid strategy would look like for you, definitely reach out. I'm more than happy to brainstorm on that.
Thank you. I haven't seen, I think that is all the questions we have received through the Q&A and the chat. If anyone has anything else to add or ask, now is your moment. Here we go.
I do just want to share my contact information if anybody wants to reach out. And I have here a free audit, completely no obligation. I love data. I love doing the research. I love helping businesses, especially creatives. What I do is just plug in some basic information and then send you a couple of reports that can basically show you where opportunities of improvement are among your website and all of your social platforms. So if that's something that would be beneficial, please definitely reach out. I would love to share that information with you.
Thanks, Erika. Well, I think we're just about done here. I'm going to turn my video back on, and I'll invite our other hosts, Chris and Allie, to do the same. So thank you. We're all sitting in silence, so I will applaud Erika for that great presentation. Thank you so much for answering those questions and being available and sharing your contact information in this great offer for a free digital audit. This presentation will be recorded, or it is being recorded. It'll be posted on CBCA's website under our Advancing Creatives program. So you'll be able to, in the next day or so, watch this presentation on our YouTube channel, as well as see all the other Advancing Creatives webinars that CBCA has done. So be sure to hop over there. And I think that's it for us at CBCA. I'll turn it back to Chris and Allie to wrap us up.
Hey there. I just want to say a huge thanks to Erika. Another amazing presentation. Thank you so much. And big ups to Meredith Badler and CBCA. It is really an honor to partner with you guys. Thank you so much. And I look forward to the next one.
Yes, I just want to second that. Say thank you to Erika, Meredith, CBCA, Chris, the library. We will also post these on the RiNo Art District website at rinoartdistrict.org, where we're also compiling resources and other links to other happenings going on in RiNo right now, like virtual exhibitions. And, you know, we also love any feedback or any topics that you all would love to see on these RiNo Made Salons. You can reach out to me, Allie, ALYE, at rinoartdistrict.org. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you again soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.